On a chilly evening in a quiet American town, a thin, ragged boy stood barefoot on a street corner near a warm, bustling cafe. His guitar was old and missing 2 strings, yet he played it gently, as if every note carried a piece of his heart. People passed by in a rush, barely noticing him, but his eyes held a quiet hope that someone, somewhere, might listen. He had been singing on the streets for weeks, dreaming not of fame or riches, but simply of a chance to be heard. One night, the glow of the cafe lights drew him closer. Inside, an open mic night was underway, filling the air with laughter and chatter. The boy hesitated at the door, his fingers trembling on the worn strings. Just as he turned to leave, a kind waitress smiled and whispered, "Go on, you've got this." Her words gave him the courage to step forward. The moment he began strumming Hotel California, the room fell silent. His voice, raw and soulful, carried a depth far beyond his years, an echo of struggle, hope, and longing. When the song ended, the crowd erupted in applause. Among them was a retired music producer who recognized something extraordinary in the boy's voice. That single night changed everything. With the support of the people who believed in him, the boy stepped out of the shadows of the street and onto a real stage. His journey proved that sometimes all it takes is one act of kindness to transform a life. The warm glow of the cafe spilled out into the chilly night as the boy stood at the doorway, clutching his battered guitar. His bare feet shifted nervously on the cold pavement. Through the window, he could see people laughing, sipping coffee, and enjoying the open mic night. The sound of music and the clinking of cups filled the air, but for him, the doorway felt like a barrier he might never cross. His heart raced as he wondered if anyone inside would want to hear a poor boy sing. He took a hesitant step forward, then stopped, ready to turn back into the shadows of the street. At that moment, a waitress noticed him. She was carrying a tray of cups, but her eyes softened when she saw his nervous face. Setting the tray aside, she walked over with a warm smile. "Are you here to sing?" she asked gently. The boy could only nod, too shy to speak. "Don't worry," she said kindly. "Everyone in there loves music. Go on. You'll be fine." Her words, simple and sincere, felt like a lifeline. The boy swallowed his fear, stepped inside, and walked slowly toward the small wooden stage at the front of the cafe. The hum of conversations faded as a few people turned to watch him. He tightened his grip on the guitar and climbed onto the stage. Though his hands trembled, the stranger's smile stayed in his mind, giving him the courage to face the crowd for the first time. The boy stood on the small cafe stage, clutching his battered guitar as the warm lights shone softly on his nervous face. For a moment, he closed his eyes to steady his trembling hands and took a deep breath. The room was still filled with chatter and the clinking of coffee cups, as most of the audience barely noticed the shy figure before them. Then, with a gentle strum of his worn guitar, he began to play the opening chords of Hotel California. The first note seemed fragile, but as he started to sing, his voice carried through the cafe, raw, soulful, and filled with emotion far beyond his young years. Slowly, the conversations faded, replaced by an almost reverent silence. People turned in their chairs, drawn to the honesty and depth in his voice. It was as if every word of the song carried pieces of his own story, of nights on the streets, of dreams held tightly despite hardship. Even those who had come only for a casual evening found themselves leaning in, captivated by the boy's performance. The air felt different, as though the cafe had become a place of quiet magic, where a single voice could reach hearts without asking for anything in return. As he sang the final line and let the last chord fade into silence, the room stayed still for a heartbeat, no one wanting to break the spell. Then, a wave of applause erupted, warm and thunderous, filling the boy's eyes with tears he tried to hide. As the final note of the boy's song faded into the warm glow of the cafe, the silence lingered for a moment, heavy with awe. Then the room erupted into applause, loud and heartfelt. Some people stood to clap, others whistled, and a few even wiped away tears. The boy lowered his eyes shyly, clutching his battered guitar as if he couldn't believe what had just happened. For the first time, he felt truly seen. Among the crowd was an older man sitting near the back, his face lit by a mixture of surprise and emotion. He had come to the cafe for a quiet evening, not expecting to witness something extraordinary. As the boy sang, he had been drawn in by the raw, soulful quality of the young voice, a voice that carried pain, hope, and resilience. Now, as the applause continued, the man stood up, his eyes glistening. He made his way to the small stage, where the boy stood frozen in disbelief. The man introduced himself as a retired music producer who had spent years searching for authentic voices. "You have a gift," he said warmly. "Don't ever stop singing." His words made the boy's heart race, his dream suddenly feeling real. The crowd continued to cheer, some recording the moment on their phones, others simply smiling at the shy boy who had just transformed the room. That evening became a turning point, a bridge from the lonely street corner to the possibility of a brighter, hope-filled future. Weeks after that unforgettable night at the cafe, the boy's life began to change. The retired music producer who had heard him sing kept his promise, guiding him with patience and kindness. The boy received his first brand new guitar, its polished wood gleaming in the light, a far cry from the battered instrument he once clutched on the street. For the first time, he felt like a real musician, not just a boy with a dream. The cafe waitress who had first encouraged him often came to watch his rehearsals, always offering a warm smile and quiet words of support. The boy's confidence grew as he practiced day after day, his voice becoming stronger, his presence more assured. Then came the night of his first real performance on a proper stage. The hall was filled with people, some who remembered him from the cafe, others who had only heard about the boy whose voice had stunned a crowd. The bright stage lights felt overwhelming at first, but as he stepped forward with his new guitar in hand, he remembered how far he had come. He began to sing again, pouring all his heart into the song. The audience listened in silence, then rose to their feet in applause that echoed through the room. In the front row, the producer and the kind waitress smiled proudly, their eyes shining. That night marked the true beginning of his journey, proving that a single act of kindness can spark a chain of hope, transforming a boy's dream into a story that inspires the world.